In 1982, a man named Christopher Reeve was becoming one of the most recognizable faces in the world. To millions, he wasn't just an actor, he was Superman. Tall, strong, confident, successful, he had fame, money, a growing family, and a future that looked untouchable. People saw him as the symbol of strength itself. But what nobody understood was how fragile life really is. Until 1 second changes everything. On May 27, 1995, Christopher was competing in an equestrian event in Virginia. He had trained for years in horseback riding and loved the freedom it gave him. During a jump, his horse suddenly stopped. Christopher didn't. He was thrown head first over the horse. The impact shattered 2 vertebrae in his neck. When paramedics arrived, Christopher wasn't breathing. Doctors later said most people with that injury never survive. But he did. Barely. When he woke up in the hospital, connected to machines that breathed for him, he learned the truth. He would likely never walk again, never move his body again. The man who once played Superman couldn't even scratch his own face. And for a while, he wanted to die. He later admitted that in the hospital he told his wife Dana maybe they should let him go. But Dana leaned close to him and said something that changed everything. "You're still you, and I love you." That sentence saved his life. Because suddenly, this wasn't about being Superman anymore. It was about being human. The months after the accident were brutal. Christopher went from red carpets and movie premieres to endless surgeries, tubes, therapy, pain, humiliation, and dependence on others for absolutely everything. The world watched in shock. How could someone so powerful lose everything overnight? But then, something extraordinary happened. Christopher Reeve decided he would not let tragedy become the end of his story. Instead of disappearing from the public eye, he came back stronger in a completely different way. He became an advocate for spinal cord research and disability awareness. He spoke in front of crowds again. He inspired millions of people who felt broken, hopeless, or forgotten. And even though he couldn't move his body, he somehow moved the world. Scientists say funding and awareness for spinal cord research exploded because of him. People who were paralyzed suddenly had hope again because Christopher refused to give up publicly. But the most powerful moments weren't on television. They were at home. His children didn't care that he couldn't fly anymore. They cared that he was still their father. Dana didn't care about the fame anymore. She cared that he was still alive. Christopher once said something heartbreaking but beautiful. "A hero is an ordinary individual who finds strength to persevere despite overwhelming obstacles." And that became the real Superman story. Not the cape, not the muscles, not Hollywood, but perseverance. In 2004, Christopher Reeve passed away at only 52 years old, and people everywhere mourned him. But not because he played Superman, because after losing almost everything, he taught the world what real strength actually looked like. Not invincibility, not perfection, but getting up emotionally when life leaves you shattered physically. His story reminds people of something terrifying and hopeful at the same time. Everything can change in a single moment. Your health, your plans, your future, your identity. But even after unimaginable loss, purpose can still exist. Love can still exist. Goodness can still exist. And sometimes the people who inspire the world the most are the ones who suffered deeply but chose kindness anyway. Christopher Reeve stopped being the Superman people watched in movies and became something much more rare, a real hero,